Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another show of Fuente and Meerapfel present Meet the Professor. Hello, world.
How are you, Jeremiah? Well,
Hello, guys. How are you tonight?
Early today. Oh my God! All the bets in Vegas tonight were lost.
Lost.
Carlito was on
Finished.
time. Holy shit! I lost a boatload of money.
Yeah, you did.
Where is Carlito? He ends up being on the show. How is that possible?
I mean, Art, you got to be happy that Carlito's on time. I guess you guys go way back.
So, how are things going? How was your week, ladies and gentlemen?
Awesome.
Mine was good. Mine was good.
Mm-hmm.
I see Carlito has a smile on his face. What was up, Papo?
It was good. It was uneventful.
Well, sometimes that's a good thing.
The roof didn't cave in on me because I've been taking care of myself, juicing so much. When it started cracking, I picked up my arms and I held the whole weight, and I just walked away feeling so confident, ready to take over the world. Can't wait for 2021. It's going to be one hell of a great year.
So may God hear you, and I think everybody out there is praying for it. I think we'll all be glad when the 2020 page is turned, and there's some bright futures out there for all of us. I don't think anybody deserves to be worrying this much, and even though we try our best to bring light into everybody's homes every Sunday, we can all use a little bit more light from good news and more good news, and I think that's important. Jose, how you doing?
Good here. Happy to see everybody well. We're going to have a lot of fun with our friend Art, which is a character. And Carlito already is smiling because, I mean, we could be with Art, to be honest, 3 days. And he has more stories and adventures and stuff he's...
You're muted.
I am?
For a second.
Okay, comes and goes.
Melanie,
Can you hear me now?
Was that you muting Jose again?
That would be funny, though.
Yeah.
Okay, can you guys hear me well?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can.
Melanie, you're supposed to only mute him when he starts saying how much older I am than him. That's
We
Or
all
when he
know that,
starts-
Carlito.
Or when he gets mad about the
You
question.
need it known to the world, of course.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
I think with no further ado, our guest of honor, Mr. Art Toll. Art, welcome to the show, my dear friend.
Well, thank you very much, Jeremiah. It's, I must say, not only a great pleasure, but an honor to be amongst such esteemed people that I've admired and worked with for many, many years. And the thanks is all for me. Thank you.
Well, without further ado, we're going to get Jose, the professor, to start shooting the questions. Jose, you ready for this?
Oh, boy.
Yes, of course.
Am I scored
Art,
on this?
yeah. Art, it's always great to see you. I mean, I've known you for about 25 years. We had a very dear friend in common in Cuba, the late Juan Diaz Tenorio, that was the director of Cuba Tobacco for many years. And, he passed away a couple of years ago. I know he was a very dear friend of yours and dear friend of mine. And a really good guy. I mean, could you imagine a guy that managed hundreds of millions of dollars and had a pension after working 40 years at Cuba Tobacco of $22 a month? And then you hear people talking about communism and Fidel and Che and all that shit. But let's leave it at that. Anyway, Art, where were you born?
I was born in Philadelphia
Really?
and spent the first 15 years living in Philadelphia. And then I left home at 15 and never looked back.
So let me ask you something. Do you remember your first cigar, what it was, at what age, and where?
Well, I can tell you exactly. I was 15. I'll give you a little background for a second. I was selling Life magazine in a small office building in Center City, Philadelphia, and working strictly on commission. I've never worked for anybody in my entire life, and I'm 73. And every night, the boys would go down to this beef and beer joint in the ground floor called Pop Edwards. It's no longer there, obviously. And somebody gave me a Phillies Bonanza, which, if I recall, was about a Lonsdale size. They were like a dime a piece or so. And I lit it, enjoyed it. And then a few weeks later, where I parked my car, in those days you could actually park on the street in Philadelphia, there was a tobacco wholesaler and retailer named Yana McDonald. And I walked in there, and Cuban cigars, even though the embargo had already passed, whatever they had in inventory, they were allowed to still sell. And my first true premium cigar was an H. Upmann Corona that I paid 35 or 40 cents for. And hell, I never looked back. I've been smoking them now 58 years. Well, there's more to that story, but I'm trying to keep it short.
No. Listen, all right. I know because we've talked about it and other people that in your days before cigars, you were like the Lou Rothman or whatever you want to call of weapons. Tell us a little bit about that. Those years that you passed dealing with weapons and ammos and rifles and all that stuff.
Well, in about 1966, so I was around 19 or 20 years old, a friend who I'd gone target shooting and hunting with, we decided to pull our guns and open up a little gun store in a little suburban Philadelphia town. The store was the size of an overgrown closet. And I parlayed that one little store into a, well, let's put it this way. By the time I sold out in 1979, we were doing about $75 million in our 8 retail stores and our 3,000 dealers throughout the country. So, yeah, everything I've sort of been involved in was kind of shaped like a cigar. Guns, airplanes, cigars. I mean, I must have some phallic thing on my mind all the time, I guess. But yeah, so I years ago, I used to, when more people knew about Lou and the origins of JR, and I knew Lou back in the day from his Upper West Side store, the what I call the Tiamo store, because he had them piled to the ceiling. You know, there are fascinating characters in our background that we should always pay homage to. You know, the generation before us, we're now the elder statesmen. Carlito's young, and Melanie's young, but you know, guys like you and me, Jose, we're the old parts.
But what happened that you got out of the arms dealing? What happened with that? I mean,
well, I was given an offer I couldn't refuse, and the check was big enough, and I said sayonara, and I started up an airline in Atlantic City. And then 4 years later, I was dead broke and $1 million in debt, and needed to dig my way out of that mess. I've had a series in my life and business of ups and downs. But the two most enjoyable business I was in was the first business being the retail and wholesale gun business. We were the largest seller of guns in the United States. And we've always innovated. Back in the mid-70s, we started putting barcodes. It was crude by today's standards, but we put barcodes on the end of rifle and shotgun boxes, pistol boxes, etc. And the records we kept for the government were so good, they drove us crazy because they couldn't believe the amount of shortages that we had was like infinitesimal. It was like next to nothing. So we've all, or at least I've tried to always stay one step ahead of the crowd, and I tried to bring that knowledge and, you know, innovation to my subsequent businesses.
all right, something that I've noticed in your shops, which to me is very unique, how you keep tabs with the companies, is that out of your 19 shops that you have the manager and whoever is working that day has a book where the salespeople come in and they write the company, the name of the person, the time they were there, how much time they spent, what did they talk about, and that, I think it's a weekly report. You get that. How did you come up with that idea? Because for one shop, you don't have to do it, but a person that, you know, has grown from 8 to 10 to 12 to 14 to 19, and you're still, and we'll talk about that later. How much does that help you, and how did you get that idea?
Well, it occurred to me a number of years ago that, in my opinion, we weren't getting the level of service that we should have been getting for the amount of revenue that we gave some of these companies. And I wanted to hold the rep, who is the in-between between ourselves and the growers, manufacturers, and distributors. I wanted to keep their feet in the fire. I wanted a level of service that, it's wonderful if they come into us and they show us new models, we taste new models, et cetera, et cetera. But really, the war is fought at the ground level. It's fought in the stores. And if the managers aren't well armed, if they don't have all the product knowledge, and they don't have the personal connection with the person selling the cigars to us, I think we lose something. So I started insisting, if we do a excuse me, let me turn my phone off. If we do a small amount of business with a company, obviously we aren't quite as demanding. But if we, any company where we do over six figures, I want to see them in the stores. I want them to visit the stores wherever they can and whenever they can. Obviously, they can't be in all 19 stores all the time, and we understand that. But at least some level of support. And it's worked out. It's worked out good for us. They respect us, I believe. And the movie houses were up in arms, and the reason for that is they weren't able to spend a lot of afternoons going to the movies. They had to actually go out and work. I'm only kidding. I'm just teasing. Now, most of these guys I've known for a very long time. Some of the reps, like the rep Danny Magras, who calls on us from Carlito and the Newmans, I have a great deal of respect for him. He's gone through an awful lot, and there's a number of other reps like that. But there's some, especially some of the newer ones, that just, in my opinion, don't give us the level of service all the time.
I can understand. I think so. You guys, I just want to pop in real quick and let you know that you can go ahead and put your questions in the comments and let us know when you want to nail the professor or which question actually is going to let us know. So I will pick one and then we'll try to nail them today. Remember, it has to be about tobacco.
Oh, we can't hear Jeremiah. Or at least I can't hear him.
Oh, no, here we are. So Let's get back to that. That was interesting. You're unhappy with the reps. So what do? You pull a gun out to their heads?
No. There are times I wish I could do. Sometimes it can be a bit frustrating. I don't mind telling you. But in most cases, no. It just keeps them on their toes. It keeps them doing the job that, frankly, we're responsible for some of their income. I mean, I'm sure depending on their remuneration package with the company, I'm sure more sales from us determines more money in their pocket. So all we want them to do is just give us a fair level of service.
Arthur, it's good to see you, my friend. It really is. It's nice to see your happy face. And, old school. Listening to you reminds me so much of my mentor, Fred Zanabodi. And he insisted that the reps walked in with the old sample case, the big sample case, and he didn't care how many times they had been in that tobacconist. He had to show them the sample tray. And and we've heard so much, the generations before us, how you build a cigar business, and that's wearing out shoe leather. And I totally agree with you. And I'm going to make sure that everybody who represents our family listens to this program and listens to the wisdom that you're so humbly sharing with all of us. It's old school. There's only one way to do it, and that's the right way. You're absolutely right, sir.
Something, when I was at the foundation last year and spent time in the factories and the fields and everything, I was touched. I knew you were a hard worker. I knew, you're like me. I used to say when I was running public companies in New York, I was too much of a micromanager. I would go up and down the aisles of the people working, and I stick a broom up my butt and sweep the floor at the same time. I used to say that about myself years ago. And I saw that in you. I saw the level of work, the level of love that you put in, the respect that the people who work for you, you can't phony that up. I saw what they did in that factory. I saw you knew everybody's name. You were singing and dancing with them. I was touched by that. And of course, I was blown away at the foundation. That just, I can't wait to get back there, to be honest with you.
And also, me too. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the words. They do mean a lot to me.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw some of the old timers working down there, I saw all I can describe it was love. The love.
You just reminded me of my father also. You said something. I know you guys were two parts, both working around the clock, so you had very little to speak to each other. But it's coincidental you used his words. He used to tell people, I understand it's difficult to work for me, because if you work for me, you have to do the job of two people. And when you get up from your station, you got to put a broom exactly where you said, up your rear, and you got to be moving your butt all the time and sweeping while you're walking. You know, and that was my dad, and you said the same exact thing, and that's old school. I think that is the lessons that people who have had to really work around the clock, work hard to make ends meet, that didn't have the resources or the luxuries, that really had to work. And that's what I've seen all my life. You know, that's the example that my father, that's how he taught me, by example. I'm not a good student. I could never compare myself to my father, but he was just an amazing man, just as you are.
Believe me, he is very, very proud of you. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
I saw how you agonized. You were, I guess, being driven to having to put barcodes on the cigars.
Oh.
And I know you resisted that for a long time.
For a long, long time.
And you were, when we were in the factory and you were describing it and everything, I'm thinking to myself, there's a man that loves this business. There's a man that really has it in his blood, beyond just the normal passed down from generation to generation. I saw how you agonized over that.
For years. And it wasn't until the artwork was just right and it was a different color for a different cigar.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize that cigar was going to reach the tobacconist humidor, not touched by anyone other than the person that purchased the cigar, since it leaves the quality control. That's completely sealed. It's not something that somebody's squeezing a cigar to see the condition, or you don't know if they put their hand in their nose or their butt. No, really, think about, it's the people like to touch cigars and feel them and squeeze them, and then you put it in your mouth. It's a consumable product. When I realized that this was going to make so special, it's going to make that brand so special, then I accepted the painstaking extra work, the time, the amount of people we had to hire, the cost, the additional cost and everything. But it was basically because I didn't want to be an item. I didn't want to be an SKU in a Home Depot or a big mail order company, with somebody behind a computer. I don't believe in that. I never did. I believe in families.
Oh, I know.
And that when I realized that this was going to make this product so special, then I accepted it. And I'm proud of it that I did, that I finally gave in.
As you should be.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question that I've asked some of the previous successful retailers we've had. Why do so many retailers fail?
I can tell you in a simple word, innovation. I have spent, well, not in the last few years, but when I used to go on the Saturday or Sunday and visit some other tobacconists, I was amazed by several things. One, they had no inventory control. Two, they didn't condition their cigars properly. I was amazed at how many dried out cigars I would see, or buggy cigars I would see in a humidor. And they had no way of controlling. They were using the dust method to determine whether they should buy some more or not. You can't stay in business like that. You just can't. We did a couple of things. One, around 96 or 97, we bought the software from a camera store, which was, whether it's cameras, film, or cigars and accessories, still a piece of merchandise. So we immediately, even when the companies in those days weren't barcoding anything, they weren't putting barcodes on anything, we barcoded every single cigar. And that way we always have had a good inventory system. And I like to think we innovated a few other things, but again, getting back to why people fail, it's very simple. They can't make the payroll. They finally come to the point where they don't have enough money in the till to make the payroll. And the reason they don't make the payroll, either they've fallen in love with an ego. Ego is very large in this business, as those of us all know. And some people come by it very honestly, and others don't. And I'm amazed at how many shop owners, they put themselves and other things like on the signs. When you're got a shop on a highway and the sign outside says, Harry's coffee, magazines, and a little print underneath there, cigars. But cigars may make up 95% of his business, but that's not the main thing. Our stores all have, they won't win any awards, but they all have these tacky yellow and black signs that say either cigars or cigars, which is our name, our trade name. And that way, when you got somebody driving down the road and they're a cigar smoker or anybody even interested in cigars, when they see our side, they know exactly what we do. Exactly. We're not trying to embellish our name or brag about our great coffee or anything else. We're in the cigar business. We're cigars. And that was important to us. And the other thing, I'm amazed how, well, as an industry, sadly, my background is marketing and sales. And I've done it for large companies and small companies. I mean, this is a tiny company that I'm running now compared to some of the companies I've run in the past. I mean, my last company was a $250 million company with 1,000 employees on 3 different continents. So, and that was too much for me. That was not me. I was successful for a number of years, but it all came crashing down for a lot of reasons. But anyway, I'm amazed at how many shopkeepers, both large and small, don't take advantage and insist upon some of the manufacturers to supply better marketing material. Just throwing a $30,000 ad in Cigar Aficionado, I don't think is enough. You have to do it at the ground level. And I'm just amazed how many companies do not have the point of sale merchandise, the advertising, point of, shelf talkers. In the 90s, we used to make up our own shelf talkers out of basically yellow cardboard, so it stood out. But I'm just shocked. They spend money on a lot of different things, but they just don't do it in the store. We then, one step further. I mean, not everybody can afford to do this, but about 8 or 9 years ago, we started a TV show every Wednesday night at 7:30. It's in 3 million homes in the Philadelphia ADI marketplace. We have ratings of 50,000 people a week watching the show.
Wow.
That's helped. Jose, you've been on the show several times.
I know.
And leading people from the industry come on the show. And it's a show, it's not a show, coming Tuesday, it's 20 off, nothing like that. It's an institutional show to the benefit of all retailers, because when I can remember to do that, I sign off each show with support your local tobacconist. We don't have stores on every corner. We're working on it, but we don't have it yet. So please support your local tobacconist who gives you a lounge to come into in the wintertime. But it gets cold up here, believe me. I'm supposed to be in Florida November 1st. I'm still here in the snow and cold. Because we're still waiting for the final work on our second store in Sarasota. So I'm not going to go down there until it's ready, and that'll probably be another couple of weeks. But people don't innovate. They don't innovate in this business. I'm shocked at it. I'm just shocked. I know it's a small industry. As industries go, the premium cigar business is a tiny industry. It's Bill Gates' pocket change for a couple of weeks. So I get it. But it's a business I love. It's a passion that I have. And Jose and Carlito, you know what I'm talking about, because you guys have that same passion. I saw it. I've seen it for years. But I'm amazed at how many tobacconists don't have that passion. Yeah, they can ring up the register and they can tell you the latest Opus X's are coming in next week and blah, blah, blah. But at the ground level, they're not marketeers. They don't market themselves. We do. And I think that's what kept us alive through thick and thin. This hasn't been a one-way street. We had the boom, but then in the early 2000s, the business wasn't so great. I remember, it's funny, I was talking to Bobby Newman the other day, and we were reminiscing. And I said, you know something? I remember something your father told me many, many years ago. He said back in the 80s, they were a couple checks away from being out of business. And, you don't forget things like that. You just don't. But I'm amazed at how many people don't use those habits. I mean, we've grown. We've acquired failing stores and made them successful, usually keeping some of the management, if not all the management. We now, again, to protect our flank and to smooth out the seasons, we've opened stores now in Florida. And I spent a lot of time in the Sarasota area years ago, and I identified Sarasota as an underserved market, and it's growing. It's one of the fastest growing markets in the United States. So I went down there, a year and a half ago and started finding store sites. And I partnered up with George Sosa, which you guys all know,
Of course.
Oh,
who I've known for over 20 years. And he is, I love the man. He's very close to me and I'm close to him. And even though he's pulling his hair out right now because he's never had to open stores before, and he's going through a trial by fire, believe me. But I'll be down there, and I was hoping to spend 6 months down there. It would probably wind up being 1. But I see that as our next expansion, the Florida market, at least that part of Florida, the southwest part of Florida. And thank God the virus hasn't affected that area as badly as it affected other parts of the country, especially up here where I'm at.
Yeah.
But, people need to innovate. People need to take risk. A true entrepreneur takes risk. You can't just sit back and wait for it. You just can't, just hope somebody walks in the door. You got to sometimes go out and drag them in a little bit, then give them good service and give them the good product at a reasonable price once they're in there. But what do I know?
but also, Art, and we've talked about it. The problem is a lot of people will go to your store, says, "Oh, this is great. I can get free cigars. So and so is going to stop by. I'm going to do events," and there's a difference between a tobacconist and a hobbyist. Then they find an 800 square foot store. They put in $60,000 or $70,000. They mortgage their house, and a year later they're out of business. And if they're in your area and it's a good spot, you probably wind them up because there is no passion. Oh, I was bored because I was working in a bank or I was an IT company. But why would you want to get in something to look at as a hobby and not look at as a business? And that's why I said in the beginning, you tracking down the salespeople to go there, you hold those company accountable. Because you and I talked about companies, they just wanted to go see you. And you will tell them, you know what? You'll get an order from me if I need something. Now, if you're visiting my shops and talking with the guys that go to the lounge, with my managers, with the clerks that we have there, maybe you could grow the business. And I think a lot of people from a lot of companies have learned their lesson with you on that.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, you can't just hope that, like you say, a small store with $60,000 worth of inventory and then hold out the open sign and pray people walk in. That's not how it works. Any retail business, that's not how it works. I've been in enough of them. And we're also blessed. I believe that turnover is a very expensive thing. Not only training people and firing and hiring people, turnover is death in a retail business, especially in a chain retail business. And I'm blessed with the fact that a lot of our people have been here sometimes more than 20 years. And I love these people. I mean, my COO, Mike Fritz, he's like me, 6-7 days a week, Johnny on the spot, works his butt off, and I have many other people like that. And you can't give enough praise. Just like I know I saw Carlito single out people while I was down there and explain what they do and how long and this and that. I mean, these are things that a small shop owner without a lot of retail experience misses out on, doesn't know. And it's a shame because, again, it's our industry and it is a small industry. And everything that we can do to make it more professional, more streamlined, more innovative benefits our customers. I mean, look, you can buy a cigar almost anywhere. You can go online and buy it from any one of a number of giant, internet and mail order companies. So if you want them to come to your brick and mortar store and perhaps even pay a little bit more, then you've got to put out something. And the something is a combination of things. First and foremost, good customer service, knowledgeable people in the store. And when I used to be more involved in the day-to-day hiring of people, I would always tell them, never, ever take a customer where he or she doesn't want to go. If a customer comes in, looking for a nice, well, nowadays, $8-9 cigar, don't immediately walk them over to the Davidoff or to some of the higher-end cigars. Kind of guide them, get their preferences, feel them out, talk to them. And sometimes talk against something if you don't feel that really matches up with the customer's needs. And I'm amazed at how many people just throw it out there and, good luck. Good luck.
Art, Has the business changed dramatically? Have you seen a shift? What shocked you the most in the last 10 years, 15 years?
I would say the brand loyalty isn't there as much. The brand loyalty is still there with certain brands like Carlito's brand, Nick Perdomo's brand, obviously Padron, and then maybe one or two others. But the loyalty, you could count. You got an old timer would walk in, walk over and grab five, Punch Rothschilds every Friday. You could count on them, five Punch Rothschilds. That's not there anymore. Everybody walks in, what's new? What's new? What's new? Sound like a Jewish shopkeeper. What's new? and you got to again innovate. You can't just leave the Punch Rothschilds on the shelf if they're not selling. You got to bring in things that match up to today's taste. Today's tastes are much more what I remember in the early '70s, Nicaraguan, when back then Nicaragua was going to overtake Cuba, building the best cigars, and of course the first Sandinista revolution killed that off. But now Nicaragua, and I know Carlito is building a nice factory down there. There's a reason. So many cigars are coming out of Nicaragua. This is what the customers want. They want that taste.
You speak about innovation, and I think everybody's following you. But I think what I'd like to know is, how has innovation changed between 10, 20 years ago and today? The mere concept of innovation is transition, and there must be a difference in the transitions today than there were 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. If you were to highlight those changes, what would they be, Art?
Things are faster now. Things are much, much faster now. The internet and high-speed communications have brought everybody's attention span much shorter. And you got to be nimble. You got to dance quickly. And at my age and weight, I can't dance that fast, but we get it done somehow. You got to be fast on your feet. You can't, again, just fill up the store and hope they come. You got to be moving the stuff. We're blessed in one way. Between, with 18 open stores and one more about to open, we can move stuff around. If it isn't selling in a few stores, we can move it to where it is selling. So we have the benefit of being able to shift inventory to match taste. And again, the people in our stores are very knowledgeable. They're very experienced. So they know what the customer wants, just talking to them for a minute or two. But you have to match all that up. You have to take time and do it right. And fortunately, stores like ours, there isn't 1,000 people a day coming into them. So we have the time to work with the customer, to take them where they, really want to be.
Yeah. You speak about nimble and fast on your feet. Yet, this is an industry which, ironically, or maybe a paradox, is a very old industry with a lot of very slow movers and very old family businesses, which might not be as nimble as many of the other industries out there. Are you getting the support? Or do you have the responsiveness from the behind the scenes? I mean, I understand on one side you have a door leading onto the consumers, and you're able maybe to, bring this level up of nimble and bring this level up of responsiveness towards the market. But what is it you're getting from the manufacturers? What is it you're getting from what's behind you?
Honestly, not enough. Not enough. In a lot of cases, again, not every case, but in a lot of cases, they just come in, sell you the cigars, deliver the cigars, you put them on the shelf and hope to sell them. You don't get the support that I believe we should be getting. And I I know I'm going to get damned for this, but I truly do believe it. I've experienced it. It's much different now than it was back during the boom or even before the boom. They were much more in your face. They were much more wanting to help out. And I'm not talking about events. Events anymore are getting more and more passé. 3-in-1, 4-in-1, a free gimchick, a free hat, free this, free that. I think that's passé now. I think that's less and less anymore of great importance. I think what's more important is, again, the front line, the customer service, the hand holding, having the lounge, having the free coffee, having a place for them to hang out. A lot of our stores have 24-hour lounges. We innovated that, back in the 90s. And you have to be responsive to your customer. And that's what I mean by nimbleness. You got to be prepared to move on a dime. And I don't think again, not in every case by any stretch of the imagination. And oftentimes, the good cigar at a reasonable price is about all it takes. And certain lines, obviously the well-established lines like Carlito's and, as I said, Nick Perdomo and Jorge Padron's line, and I'm sure a few others I can think of, they don't need a lot of stroking. Just get a nice supply of it, sell it at a reasonable price, and that they speak for themselves. But that's not the whole 100% business. The other, 30, 40, 50, 60%, they need some support. And I don't think we get enough of that from the manufacturers. And again, just running ads, in Marvin's magazine, as much as I admire, I don't know him. I've met him a few times, but I mean, he helped his business. I give praise to him. I mean, at least from my perspective, from what I've seen back in, the origins of Cigar Aficionado, that helped bring this industry back. Now, I don't know if everybody would agree with me, but at least that's the way I see it.
Supply chain. How important is supply chain? So you have the factory manufacturing these products. You have the retailers selling them to the consumers, but there's something going on in the middle, and that supply chain going to you. Are you criticizing that part? Is that one of the parts? And when I say criticizing, I don't mean a bad criticism. I mean, is that one of the flaws?
Well, it currently is because of the shortages and the pandemic, and I understand that. But in general, the supply chain works. The backup for the supply chain, the marketing at the ground level is just not there in a lot of cases.
All right, so let me ask you a question, Art.
Okay.
You got family businesses, you got the big corporates. Is there a difference? Do you feel a difference coming to the foot of your store?
Well, maybe I'm not understanding the question. Are you asking me what's the difference from when the Colemans and those people were in the business and what the business is today from those big companies?
For example.
Well, in some ways, it's much better because our deals with some of these big companies are much sharper now. Our margins are much better with their product than they were back in the old family-owned General, family-owned Consolidated Cigar with Ronnie Perlman. Yes, selfishly, it's better for us. But that's just a couple of companies. The rest of the companies, and so many Johnny-come-latelys, they call them boutiques. And I mean, I remember when people like Nick and Rocky, they didn't think of themselves, they didn't call themselves boutiques back then, but they were boutiques. And now every day people walk in here wanting to sell us cigars. And it's just amazing because they're not principal growers. They're not vertically integrated. They're selling a nice $7, $8 cigar for $9, $10, and $11. And we carry some of that stuff in some of our stores, our old line stores. There's resistance against those brands just because they have a funny name and a funny band, and it tastes like a good $7, $8, $9 cigar masquerading as a $10, $12 cigar. Customers are not stupid. You cannot, take for granted your customers, and that's why companies such as some of the ones I keep naming, the 2Ps and Carlito, are so successful. They're vertically integrated. They have a very good product at a very reasonable price. And, everybody tries to emulate that. Well, you can't unless you make the investment that people like the Padrones and the Fuentes and the Perdomos made. They made substantial investments in their product. And the amazing thing is they're able to keep the prices where they're at. And they're able to keep the consistency, the quality. People want a good quality, consistent cigar. If you buy an 858 15 years ago and you buy an 858 today, it's going to taste the same. The Don Carlos, which is one of my favorite cigars, it smokes to me the same way it did 20 years ago. That's what people want. And you don't necessarily always get that in some of the funny bands and funny names. And again, any shop owner that takes his consumer for granted is not usually going to last a really long time because people are not stupid. And when you think of them as being that way, you're not going to make it. You're not going to last. I hope I answered the question, right?
Absolutely. That was very, very good. I mean, it went in a direction where it led on to something else. And I think that a lot of people out there are very satisfied with what you just said. Now, Art, you want to have a bit of fun?
A bit of fun?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I always like to have some fun.
All right. We have a little thing on the show called Nail the Professor. So
Nail
this is where we sit back and we watch Jose. Well, somebody try to nail Jose because this doesn't happen very often, but we're going to try.
Is he going to squirm?
I hope not. All right. Melanie, you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. All right, sit back. Here we go, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Nail the Professor.
We need music.
We need a little jingle for this next time. We'll create a little jingle. All right, it's all yours. So let's bring the professor up, and
right.
I am.
All right. So the question that I have was actually 2 questions, but the first one I've got right here, it says, what is a deflorado leaf? I say that right.
Deflorado. Yeah, that's when the leaves are out in the field and you're taking out the buttons on them. That's deflorado. That's what it means. What else? What's the other question? And there's a purpose to it also.
There is. What's the purpose to it?
Well, you got to look at it's how would you say?
Hey, Professor, leave the purpose later. We'll discuss it between ourselves right afterwards with Carlito.
Okay.
Let's just find out if somebody can finally manage to nail this professor here.
What's the other question?
I'm trying to find it. I can't. It was same thing. It was
And in Spanish, it's desbotonado, deflorado.
There weren't many. It was just another one by Andy. I just haven't seen it.
Okay.
All right.
Well, it'll probably be next week. All right.
Yeah.
You talked
All right,
about
nice
nice
try here. Let's get Carlito on, and we can have a little discussion about this. All right, go ahead.
Well, this florado is used a lot. I think I started hearing that word in Ecuador from Ecuador tobacco. Actually, the florado. The old Cuban word and what we've always is desbotonado.
Desbotonado.
Desbotonado is actually the word, and what it is when the plant is developing and it's almost developed. It wants to stay alive. It's it's alive. It starts producing flowers so it can produce seeds so it can survive. It depends. Some people let the flower a little longer. Depends on the texture of the leaf that you're looking for. But some people, the old Cuban way is in the very beginning. You take that flower off. And once the flower's off, the plant goes into like a type of shock, and it starts producing children, what we call los hijos, small little leaves. And you have to go every week and remove those small little leaves. So all the nutrients, all the energy that the plant is absorbing goes directly to the main leaves that you want to produce. So that's what desflorado is. It's removing the flower at a certain time. And it definitely produces a different, it's a heavier tobacco, a richer tobacco. But sometimes you sacrifice the elegance of what you're looking for in a wrapper and so forth. It depends on the seed, the climate it's grown in, the amount of sunshine that it's receiving, whether it's shade or it's directly under the sun and so forth, that you decide exactly how you want to harvest your tobacco, or whether you just float out, you're going to take off the flower or not.
But in Ecuador, they do it. The Perez and the Olivas, all of them, they do it a lot. So that Connecticut, shade that they grow there. Connecticut sun-grown that they grow there.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Jeremiah, and in Cameroon?
We've played around with both. We experiment a lot. We've played around with both. I agree with Carlito. It really depends a lot on, what you want to do. It's like it's amazing. Nature is incredible. It's like a pregnant woman. The minute that you have the seed there, automatically nature just brings all of the nutrients up to the babies, the seeds. And what it's going to do is it's going to keep those nutrients from going into the leaves. It's going to bring them up to the seeds and try to feed that flower, try to feed, the next generation. So the question is, do you, and Carlito hit the nail on the head. Do you want those nutrients to go to the leaves and continue developing those leaves in a very special way. Or in some cases of wrappers, sometimes you want to tone it down. You want to get you want the leaves to stay as thin as possible, as flexible as possible. So there's a balance. We've literally done both. And we keep experimenting it with now, and we don't have all the answers. Every time we think we understand something, we get slapped in the face, and we have to change our ways. So the reality is there is no rule so far, that no magic recipe which we found.
No, Jeremiah, you're absolutely right. And a lot of times you sacrifice wrapper, elegance. I like to say, pliability, stretching, that beautiful, the oils that you look for in a wrapper. You sacrifice for looking for something else. So it depends a lot how much sunshine, the country you're growing it in, the time of the year there's a lot of things that could influence the decision of what to do. It's not always the right thing to do. And it's normally, it's very common in filler, long filler and binders. It is common. It's the way most people grow it. That's the way it should be. So you get all the nutrients. But for wrappers, it depends on the country, depends on the seed, and depends what you want to achieve, what your goal is.
But also, Carlito, it's more of a practice in Nicaragua than in Dominican. That in Nicaragua, let's say your plant has 20 leaves, they'll take off those 3 in the bottom, and the next section, the ligeros, the barrezuelos y the volados, for the plant to wind up probably with 14 leaves. It's going to have more nutrients. It's going to have more nibor. It's going to have more flavor. I mean, I'm talking about for filler. It's absolutely outstanding. And unfortunately, in Dominican, if they could leave 24 leaves on them, they would leave it. I
got to step in, Jose, because the first thing that we do, we remove the bottom 6 leaves, okay? And we only grow certain leaves. We don't get more than 12 or 14 leaves. But we grow the tobacco in our garden, and that's why I get defensive, because not everybody's the same. And we don't talk about this. We never have talked about it or spoken about it because we never had these shows. But I got to defend, because we don't do things that way. We do things the old Cuban way. And remember, the tobacco we grow is for us to smoke, for me to smoke myself. I got to love it. And it's got to be the best I humanly possible could achieve. We don't grow tobacco to sell other people. We have never, till today, in over 25 years, sold 1 ounce of tobacco of Cynthia Fuente to any other manufacturer. And the reason I don't sell it, we have a lot of tobacco we have to grind up, we use for fertilizer, and we have to use as binder, filler, whatever. But I knew the day that we sell 1 ounce to one manufacturer to be able to cover the cost of the farm and everything, it would end up in the bundle somewhere, and it'll say made with tobacco of Cynthia Fuente. I've had lawsuits and everything of people claiming that we were just marketing people, and they're the ones that grow the tobacco, and their bundles were the actual Opus X bundles. I've had lawsuits and everything. So, and thank God that I was able to go on deposition and swear in front of a judge that and they could not prove that we sold them that tobacco. And I've had depositions, I've had lawsuits. During the crazy time, like Art talks about the boom, there was a lot of crazy things happening during the boom. But that is the reason.
Art, you touched about a lot of why a lot of retailers go out of business. So I'm going to ask you, is Art on?
Not yet.
Did we lose Art?
I'm there. Yep.
Okay.
Jose,
Art, no, I asked
don't worry about all of that. We got it covered. Just ask the questions.
I asked you about why so many retailers fail, but I'm going to ask you this. Why do so many companies fail?
The cigar companies you're talking about?
Yeah,
or companies?
yeah.
Oh, why do they fail? They put out a product that, a small company tries to go up against a very large vertically integrated company, and they have they might have some success, over a period of time. I think people, if you're talking modern iteration, people like Pete Johnson have had success. The Caldwells of the world have had success. But these companies come and go. They come in here all the time. You never heard of the company, and they want to give us, buy 50 boxes, get 50 free. And I tell them, I said, look, if you want me to maintain your price, I don't care if you give me these cigars for 10 cents a piece. If I can't sell them for $11, $12, what good are they at 10 cents a piece? I mean, it just doesn't work. And they fail because they don't have the clout. Even though this is a small industry, it's hard to buy your way into it unless you're willing to put up a lot of money and put the cart in front of the horse. Most people, they come up with $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, and wow, they're in the cigar business. They have the number 29th rated cigar in some cigar journal in Slobovia that you never heard of, and that's their claim to fame. The cigar tastes like any other, like $6, $7, $8 cigar. They're getting 12 for it, and that's why they fail. They can't stay. They can't put out a consistent product at a reasonable price and market it and advertise it. They just can't. I mean, that's my opinion.
Art, Slovenia is a beautiful place, and we salute all of our friends over there.
I'm sorry, Jeremy, you broke up on me. I didn't hear what you said.
I said Slovenia is a beautiful place, and we salute all of our friends in Slovenia.
No, I said Slobovia. There is.
I'm just pulling your leg. I'm pulling your leg, Art.
I've been to Slovakia. I know Slovakia.
I'm sure you have. All right.
My former wife was Czech.
I figured. Don't worry. All right. It's time for us to have a bit of fun. Have you ever heard of Melanie's Hotspot?
No, I saw it on the shows, I guess.
Well, welcome to Melanie's Hotspot, Art.
She's pretty hot herself. Am I allowed to say that?
I didn't hear. What did you say?
I
said
be
the judge.
Melanie's pretty hot. I don't know how hot can get, but I don't even want to go down that road.
Okay, I'm going to run this disclaimer before Rich's riot today because I can see that Art's on a roll. Ladies and gentlemen, this is broadcasted out of Basel, Switzerland. Whatever Art says will not and cannot be held against him or any producers of this show. Have a wonderful time.
I love it.
Reeling them in. All right, so what would be your one of the, I guess, an encounter at your shop that's probably the most odd encounter you've ever had?
Wow. Oh, God. Oh, now you watch me squirm. Odd encounter. Oh, Lord.
Or crazy, or I don't know.
I guess one of the managers or one of the clerks taking the vacuum and actually starting to clean without having to be told to do so.
Oh, man.
That's odd. It's not spectacular, but it's odd.
That's pretty good in Florida, actually.
No, yeah. No, George keeps that story. He's got a blower to blow the. I mean, he's a neat freak. He's a good man. And Kim, we took away from an outfit. Yeah, Kim. Everybody loves Kim, and she's been in the business for a long time. And what a wonderful person she is. But I guess I've seen it all. I've seen people light the cigar from the wrong way. I've seen people stick the hot end in their mouth. I've seen weird stuff. Back in the 90s, and it was sad. You talk about odd things. People would bring in cardboard boxes filled with supposedly Cuban cigars. And beside the notorious famous glass top Cohiba Esplendido box, they would pull out a box of regular Esplendidos. And they would say, "Can you tell me if these are real?" And the first question I would ask them, I would say, "How much did you pay for them?" $250. That was the standard price, $250. I said, "They're fake. They're phony. They're fakes." Yeah, how can you tell? I said, "Wait a minute. I've been to Cuba 30 some times. I used to go on a religious pilgrimage down there to supply medical supply. That's a whole long story, but I got to know a lot of, and Jose knows, our mutual dear friend who's no longer with us. We did a lot of good work down there for the Cuban people, not the Cuban government. We worked our way around the Cuban government. Frankly, we never made it to the firing squad, thank God. So I would say to them, I say, look, the official price of a box of Esplendidos is $383.13 at that time. It's more now, but at that time, I would then go back to my office. I'd pull out like a gray slip from the official government, store or whatever, and I'd give them a real one. I'd give them a real Esplendido. I said, that's why I know they're phony. And then if you want to know, have you smoked any of these? Yeah. I said, did you smell the foot? Oh, yeah, it smells floral. It smells delicious. I said, they're phony. They're phony. So, I mean, it's odd. it's different, and it's something that doesn't happen much anymore. But you know, when I don't spend that much time anymore in the stores themselves, except when I visit stores, because I fly a desk more and more involved in the back office business than necessarily the front. And I miss that. This time of year, Christmas time, I'm in my office in store number 1 now. So I get out to greet the customers and carefully with mask on and everything. So I mean, I miss the customers. I miss that interplay.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
Art, I have a question because you mentioned about those situations and everything. You really feel bad for the people. I want to ask you a question. Did this happen to you in the 80s, in the mid 80s, late 80s? Chateau Fuente was the first cigar with a cedar and a ribbon on the foot of the cigar.
I remember those.
Yeah, how many times do you see someone light the ribbon in the cedar, and you see all of a sudden that everything is like you're gonna catch the house on fire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see people like the cedar. I see.
Yeah.
You take your cedar off and burn that and light your cigar with it.
Yeah, exactly. And how many times have you seen someone get a box with cellophane and everything and smell the outside of the cellophane? It was, oh my God, these cigars are so good.
wait,
I'll tell you a very interesting story. Going back to when I was 15, 16 years old, and I was going to that distributor retailer in Philadelphia, Yonah McDonald. I used to walk around as humidor, and I would look. Even back then, I would look with cigars with plume on them. And I would go up to, I try to identify like a young clerk who may not know better. And I'd say, look, can I buy these moldy cigars at a discount? And about half the time, I got away with it.
Of course. Yeah. Absolutely.
that's bad.
Yeah, you don't see people lighting ribbons and cedar so much anymore. I think they've caught on. But in the very beginning, it was something new, and it embarrassed me. I hate to tell you. I saw people, because they were burning their clothes and everything. This thing is throwing sparks everywhere, and then I'm going to get blamed for it. But
you're going to get sued for it.
Yeah, exactly. But we've seen so much, But it's beautiful to remember.
Yeah.
And one thing that you spoke about so many different things, and it all goes back to one principle. It's about the people. Our business is a small business. It's about relationships, just like my world is, and everything. The relationship with everyone that works side by side on our team is building a relationship. The relationship that lasts 20, 30, 40 years, and perhaps longer. It's the same thing with you and your customers. I see your staff. I'm friends with a lot on social media. And I see the things they do, your team, and it's people don't come in sometimes for just a cigar. They come in for a moment just to get their mind off of any situation of the day. And it's a friendship, and it's the human instinct you're attracted to other people, and you're attracted to people who pay attention to you, and you're attracted to people who know your name. And I think that has been probably one of the elements of your success and why you persevered so many years and you continue to grow. It's that personal touch, that personal relationship that I know that you instill in every one of your team members.
Yeah, if I'm in the store and a customer makes a sale and walks out the door, even though I may know him, he may have been coming in for 20 years, I still thank him for his business. That's my words as the customer leaves. Thank you for your business. And I mean it. Without you, we're nothing. We're nothing. You can buy a cigar anywhere. So it's important to us. And even though we innovate, we do things, we have our own little factory. Well, it's somebody you know very well. You and your sister know very well, Consuelo Gomez. She's my sister-in-law. So even though, we buy a lot of her product and sell it as private label and stuff, it's those things, the personal touch and the fact that our people are so dedicated. We're nothing without our people. We need our customers and our people to respond properly, and 99.9% of the time they do. And I'm very proud of that. I mean, you are what your people are. And when you have, I don't know, I guess we have 70, 80 employees. I mean, they're the front line. They're the face of the company. I mean, I can jump up and down all I want, and I can buy things sharp and make right decisions and make the money last and all that. But it's the people that are the front lines and the customers who come into the stores that make us what we are, whatever that is. But it makes it what we are, and it's a people business. It's a true one-on-one people business, and we're not some gargantuan, industry where we talk in the terms of billions and billions of dollars like a lot of other industries. I mean, millions of dollars is a lot of money. And customer service, it's all about the customer service and how you treat your customers and how you innovate, how you continue to innovate. When back in the early, I guess around 2003 or 4, we started putting rollers in all the stores when you could do that back then. And we came out with our own line of cigars named after the master blender that we brought up from the Dominican Republic, Eduardo. And then Consuelo, we call her Evelyn, followed. And we had them in 5 or 6 stores. And sadly, when S-chip passed, we had to take it out, and the tax went from 4.7 to 40.26. And I miss having the rollers because that was an experience. But men and some ladies could bring their children in to watch the rollers make the cigars. And we did the whole process. We bought the tobacco from people such as Oliva in Tampa, and we bought some from Davidoff, and we bought some from the Arollas, and we really had a nice cigar. And we sold them, 17 years ago, we sold them for $4.25. Today, we only sell for $4.95. So we haven't even raised the prices that much. So we try to do things that keep it interesting, the TV show, but in spite of all the things I may come up with, like 8 years ago, I realized that all the big mass merchants, all the CIs and JRs and famouses of the world sold 5 and 10 packs of the same cigar. It was a pack of this or a pack of that, or it was Honduras versus Nicaragua. But they were basically the same cigars. I said, I think we can do this better. So we started putting 4 different cigars in a bag. We bought the bags from China, 100,000 at a time. We heat seal them. We have these machines that heat seal it. And we put one of one company, one of another company. We put 4 different cigars, same size, try to keep the blend comparable. And we started doing that, I guess, 7, 8 years ago. That's grown into $1 million a year business. And it takes up little tiny space in each one of our stores, racks, and they pick the thing off. We buy the cigars in bulk from, all the major companies and some smaller companies. And it's very successful. Now we're about ready, actually tomorrow, to launch what we have the domain cigarsamplers.com, and we have a great guy running it whose name I can't say this minute because he still has an NDA that expires tomorrow. But we're going to launch it. Hopefully we'll have it on the air sometime next month. And we're going to take what we do and what we do in our stores now to a worldwide basis. And the reason I learned my lesson during the pandemic, when our stores were closed for the better part of 3 months, and I realized the big companies, the mail order and the internet companies, cleaned our clock. They thrived while we suffered. I said, I'm never going to allow that to happen again. So we found a great guy who has a lot of experience working for some of these mass merchants, and he's going to head this up, partner in it, like George is a partner in Florida. And I expect this to be very successful. So again, innovation. You have to innovate or die. If you don't keep it fresh and moving, you're going to get steamrolled. And I've always said, competition is great. People fear competition. I've been saying for God knows how many years, if CI, and I hope they're listening, if CI wanted to open up across the street from me, I'd go out and find them the real estate. I'm not afraid of that kind of competition. It stimulates the marketplace. We have stores that are 15, 20 minutes apart. They may be different demographics, different neighborhoods, but they're that close. And the existing store has grown through that of the new store, the sales of the new store. So people are so afraid of competition. I heard back 15, 16, 18 years ago, CI is going to, Lou was going to put a JR, that famous, blah, blah, blah. I said, bring it on. Stimulate the marketplace. Create new smokers. That's what we need, new smokers. We're not getting, as us old farts go bye-bye, who's replacing us? Who's going to smoke? And I think that's a real problem because I think people forget that, people often compare guns and cigars, and they're not similar. Guns are a passion. They're a constitutionally protected right. They're competitive. What people don't realize, hunting, shooting sports, clay bird, that's all competitive. Smoking a cigar is not competitive. And that's the difference between the NRA and the CRA. The NRA has millions and millions of members. The CRA, I'm sure, does not have that many members. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm sure it's not that many members. And it should grow. Us retailers should support the CRA. When they first started up, I gave them time at the end of our TV show, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And the fellow, Luke, who he came up and recorded a bunch of spots. We ran those spots for a better part of a year. We signed up people. And then I wanted to continue that. And, every time I'd run into him, he would, oh, yeah, I got to get up there. I got to, blah, blah, blah. It didn't happen. The complacency. And that's why the CRA hasn't grown. The CRA is a grassroots organization that should be supported by every smoker. The problem is smoking is a relaxation tool. You equate smoking with a good libation or with friends or relaxation. It's not competitive. Yeah, it may be competitive. You're out on the golf course trying to get a low score, but you're not, there's no contest. How many cigars can you smoke in a day? There's no competition in cigars. So that's why I think cigars don't get the passion that guns get or shooting gets. And we've got to refocus that. We've got to create environments where we bring people into the CRA, where we get people interested in smoking as a tool of relaxation or camaraderie. Man, I could make you an argument. And I've said this, and people think I'm deaf, dumb, and stupid. And maybe I am, but I don't think so. Smoking a cigar will extend your life. Smoking a cigar and relaxing takes a lot of the stress out of your life. I don't know how many cigars I smoke in a year. I smoke a ton, and I'm 73 years old, and every few years I get a chest x-ray, and they keep telling me I got the lungs of a newborn or something, maybe 10 years old. And cigars aren't going to kill you. And I know, all the first generation, your father, the other elders, they smoke 10, 15 cigars a day. And they're not exactly smoking, I'll call them straw cigar. They're smoking intense cigars. So we don't get that word out. I know when we're fighting with the government, we bring it up. And even they acknowledge occasionally that smoking an occasional cigar won't kill you. But we don't get the word out as an industry and as a civilian trade group, the CRA. We don't get the word out. Our communications is not good. I mean, if I have the time, I could tell you a story of what we did in the gun business in 1968, how to get them to move off the schnoz. They were passing the Gun Control Act. They were going to ban the sale of small automatic pistols. They called them back then Saturday night specials. They may have been made by great companies, and they may have been a bit expensive, but they wanted to get rid of them. We were able to convince the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, I think back in those days, the Treasury Department, to give us a chance to move these companies from places like Spain and other countries to America. And they started opening factories in places like North Carolina and suburban Maryland, rather. And now those companies still thrive today because they innovated. They responded, and the government believed us. We said, look, we will not sell to children. Sound familiar? We will not sell to children. Why 10, 12 years ago did we not go as an industry, consolidate the CAA, what was it called back in the day? The the PCA today, but I can't remember so many iterations ago. Why didn't we go to the government and say, look, we have this trade organization that has 3,000 retail members. We'll keep kids out of the store. Just give us the ability to police ourselves and then come down on us hard if we don't. Instead, we tried to tickle the elephant by, scratching its rear. It doesn't work like that. And look, politicians, let me rephrase it. Regulators listen to politicians. Politicians listen to voters. And the sad part of this, unlike guns, if you and I are debating in a firehouse, we're both running for mayor of a town, and I'm for smoking and you're against smoking, who's getting 75 or 80% of the votes? The guy that's against smoking, because that's just the way it is. We're not popular. And until we change that narrative and we educate younger people, I don't mean kids, I mean, adults, young adults, there's not going to be in a couple more generations. This business may not be like it is today. We have to do something, and that's got to be in the retail stores at that level. There has to be more support to get people signed up and interested, and I don't see it happening. I know a lot of people jump up and down, and I saw the pictures in front of the Capitol building. The Senator Schmo and Congressman Schmeck are hoisting the drinks and smoking the cigars, and a bunch of leading industry players are there. And I knew you're going to Duke Zebert for dinner or the Capitol Grill or whatever, and they're going to just take your cigars, take your free dinner, take your free drink, and then go back to the Capitol and vote against you. And I've experienced that. I've seen that. And I used to laugh at it. I was so sad because we just didn't tackle a former president of the PCA. I remember driving home one day and he called me. We're friends and we're both TAA members. And he said to me, "We need you on the board. We need your passion on the board." I said, "Be careful what you wish for. Breaking eggs is my specialty." And I've kept a low key because at my age, to be schlepping back and forth to Washington or this place and that place, it's a younger man's business to do that. I mean, I can be behind the scenes. I can take public forums like this and espouse my views, and people can accept or reject them. That's their privilege. But people just don't realize. When I saw the passion, I knew your father. I knew, Mr. Padron. I knew all the elders, Placencia, all the elders. And I was in awe and great respect of those guys. I may have been richer than them at the time, but I had a great deal of respect for them because they blazed the trail. When Mr. Newman told me how close they were to bankruptcy in the 80s, that's where this business was. And sadly, we need to inject some passion and get some younger people involved, and especially get the retailers to promote the virtues, not just, sell a cigar to you across the counter and ring up your money. We got to get people involved big time, or this business will not be like it is 10, 20, 30 years from now. And, some of us may not be around in 30 years, but somebody will be around. And we got to make sure the heritage that we leave them is the same kind of heritage and respect that your father left you, Carlito. I think you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Art, this is incredible. Thank you so much. This is insane, but I've got a problem with you. You are so fascinating that we are not halfway through the show and we're just about to get thrown off the air because we're an hour and 15 minutes into the show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Rich here because we're going to go straight to Rich's Riot. Rich, you're going to skip your intro and you're going to go straight to the joke now because we got to close this show very quickly, okay?
I understand. No big intro. I just want to thank Steven Spector. After I talked about the foundation last week, while we were on air, he made a very nice donation to the foundation. I'm going to go, this is more in keeping with what I normally do. 3 guys died on Christmas Day, and they're met by St. Peter at the pearly gates. And then St. Peter says, "In honor of the holy season, you guys, before you get into heaven, got to show me something related to Christmas." And they scratch their heads. One guy pulls out his lighter, flicks it, and says, "This flame reminds me of a candle." St. Peter says, "That's great. Move on in." The second guy says, "What am I going to do?" He says, he pulls out his keychain. He starts rattling his keys. And he says, "These are like bells, like Christmas bells." And the third guy's going, "What the heck am I going to do?" And he finally pulls out of his pocket a pair of ladies' panties. St. Peter says, "What has that to do with Christmas?" He says, "These are carols." So that was my shot for the day.
Oh my God. Art. Is everybody hearing me?
I hear you.
Is everybody hearing me?
I hear you fine.
Art, listen, I think that next year we're going to have to come back to part 2 of this because, to be honest, I still got like 7 or 8 questions. Carlito has a lot to ask. Jeremiah, I want to thank you for being on the show. I thank you for your passion, what you have done for the industry. You and I have talked a lot. We even didn't have time to talk about the rulings and all the other things. But for next year, we're gonna have you back because you're so knowledgeable, you're so passionate, and you shoot. I'm not gonna say you shoot from the hip. I think you shoot from the truth, the passion, and the successes that you have had in your life. I hope your brother gets better. Wishing you, Rob, Kevin, all the staff, all the best, and thank you for being on the show. I think Carlito might have one or two things to say also.
I'll try to keep on the one or two, but I just want to say that we've had countless of amazing guests on the show, and you have contributed so much. I agree with every word you say. You have reinforced so many things that were taught to me by Fred Zanaboni. And I get emotional when I mention his name. And my father, it's refreshing to hear him once again from you, Art. You're an amazing person, and God bless you, sir. God bless you that you have so much energy, so much passion, and you contribute so much. You've given me, myself, today so much. You have no idea, which I'm so very grateful. You've given the world of cigars. You've opened the doors of what is necessary in the business. Don't take it personal, but your name's going to be in the tip of my tongue in every board meeting I go to with every company I'm involved with. Your name's going to come up and everything, and you're going to get a call. There's nothing more important in life. Jose and I speak to about this a lot, and Jeremiah and everybody near me, is to be able to pass down knowledge and experience. And that's exactly what you did. I think that is the greatest gift that one could contribute to mankind. And you did that today, sir. And for that, I'm very grateful. I want to wish you the very best of the holidays. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. God bless you. A lot of health to you and your family, and a lot of wonderful things for 2021. It's going to be a great year. I have all the faith and confidence that it will be.
I am touched and humbled by all your words, and yeah, I shoot from the hip, and sometimes not everybody likes what I say. I will do that, but I mean, it's all from the heart, and may God bless us all in these times we're living through right now.
Yes,
and you can always count on me.
Thank you, sir. Likewise.
And I owe a lot to you guys. I mean, without you, we'd be nothing. I mean, without your quality, without your consistency, I mean, you're some of the real heroes in this business. What? No question about it. And I'm not trying to blow smoke up to where. I mean, we've been around too long for that. I mean,
yes, yeah, of course, yes. And without you, we are nothing. And you're absolutely right with every word. Without you and the farmers and all the families, the hundreds of thousands of people who are hands-on, their families depend on this beautiful industry that we're part of.
Well, I thank God for your friendship. I wish you and your family and Jose and Jeremiah, their families. I know Jose's wife, and I hope to get to know Jeremiah a little bit better, or at least find out who his haberdasher is. And it's been a privilege and an honor. I mean, this is I get a chance to tell it as it is, at least the way I see it. And I don't get that chance that often because, again, being a brick and mortar store, we don't make a lot of noise. And, we may be a decent customer and all that. But, to be able to have a platform like this is a very honorable thing. And I very much appreciate it. And on behalf of everybody at Cigars and AT Cigars and the old Rebel Valley Cigars, I mean, I really appreciate what this industry has done for me and my company and the people that work here. And it's, again, I've heard you say this many times. It's all about the people.
Art, this show has been absolutely insane.
Oh, you say that to all the girls.
Well, let me tell you something. Some more than others. And I see that you're a true aficionado. But joke aside, this has been very special. I've had the privilege to get to know you a little bit better today. And there's two things on my agenda. Number one, as soon as I can, hopefully be able to get on a plane and meet you somewhere, because I suspect that these discussions are going to be very interesting. The second thing I'd like to do is, with Carlito and Jose, make sure that you come back on this show very soon, because like I said, we're an hour and 20 minutes into an hour show and we haven't heard anything yet. And we're all looking forward to chapter 2 of this. So with your blessing, hopefully you'll accept our invitation to come in early next year and we can continue this conversation. And I'd like to thank you. I know Carlito and Jose extensively did already, but I'd like to thank you as well on behalf of our families for everything which you're able to communicate and everything which you're able to stand for, and doing it with such style and passion is something which we like to see very, very much. So, Art, thank you again, and see you very, very soon on the show.
Jeremiah, I'm yours whenever you want me, and the honor will be all mine. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure every single one of you is going to have to rewatch this show, because this was a truly special one. And Melanie is now going to explain to you exactly how to do that.
Hi, guys. So if you want to watch more excellent shows by the professor and see more legendary guests, you can go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. It is www.tinyurl.com/the Professor Show. And be sure to subscribe and then hit the bell next to that and make sure you get all the notifications. Anytime we go live, you won't miss a thing. Also, we have a Facebook page. Our Facebook page does show our show every Sunday. Can I say that? Yes. So every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, you can catch our live episode on Facebook. And if you go to the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/The Professor Show, you can follow, like, hit, and be able to also hit the bell. And there's notifications. You can get all the notifications, whether we post a story, regular post, or a live video.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Melanie. So next week on the show, well, actually for the 2 next weeks on the show, we have some specials for you. Next week is going to be a special week. Next Sunday is going to be a special Sunday. It's going to be the Christmas Sunday. It's going to be the festivity Sunday. And we've decided that we are going to be between ourselves for next week's show. We want to make sure that the family's together. It's going to be Carlito Fuente, Jose Blanco, Melanie Sisco, of course, Rich and myself. And we are just going to have fun with you guys. We're just going to be talking to each other. We want to go over this year. This has been a very, very, very special year. We've built something up all together. This has been an enormous community, an enormous family. And we want to make sure that we can just connect and spend that time to connect with you all. So we're looking very, very, very much forward to a very special moment and a unique moment where it's going to be the crew of the Fuente and Meerapfel present Meet the Professor with you guys. And then to open the New Year's, it's going to be a grand slam. Our first guest of honor is somebody which we've been looking forward to having on the show for many, many months. Somebody every single one of you knows, Mr. Reinhard Porek, who's going to be the guest of honor on the Fuente and Meerapfel present Meet the Professor. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we leave, please remember to take care of yourselves and of others. And, well, like I like to tell you, if you don't do it with passion, don't do it all. Until then, see you next Sunday. Goodbye, everybody. Take care of yourselves.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Art?
Hey, I was
See you,
thanks.
Art.
Yep.
All right, thanks. It was a pleasure.
Art, it was a lot of fun being on with you young guys.